Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about getting a license for any vehicle. So we'll talk mostly about passenger vehicles, but we'll touch on CDL drivers as well and going to truck driver school to get your truck or bus license to start as a CDL driver. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about getting your first license, what you need to do, the steps to put in place, and learning how to drive. And just bear with me for one sec here. I just need to, what is going on here? Just bear with me. I'll just fix, not sure why I'm not as bright as I should be. White balance. There, we'll try and fix that. There we go. Okay, so we got a few people here already. Courtney's here, Edith is here, Katie's here from Arkansas, Kingsville. Courtney wants to know how to pass her license. We're going to talk about that. Jonathan's here from New York. Carl is here. Thanks for your insights on how to drive safely. Appreciate your wisdom. Carrie, you're most welcome. Razzy's tuning in from Vancouver, British Columbia. Jada's here from Rochester, New York. Corey's here from Manitoba. Rose is here. Yummy's here. Almaz is here. So hello everybody, and if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from and what class of license you are going for in the world, and we'll answer any questions you have about passing a road test, starting your career as a truck or bus driver, or staying crash free and not suffering the results of being involved in a crash, not having your insurance rates go up, and those types of things. So we're going to help you with all of those types of things. So Yummy says that his or her road test is next week. I do apologize. And GLaDOS is here. Integral is here as well. So we have a few people here. My test is on the 23rd. Excellent. Jennifer's going for her test as well. So we'll give you lots of tips about going for the actual practical road test, because that's what a lot of you are going to be doing. Doris is here from Charlotte. Doris, is that Charlotte, North Carolina that you're tuning in from? Just let us know there in the comments as well. Awesome. And Corey, Bricks for Wheels, is the moderator. Corey helps out with getting up the videos that I suggest that you have a look at to pass your road test and be successful on that. And so without further ado, just bear with me here one sec. There we go. And just getting over to the PowerPoint presentation here to get going. Transition. There we go. So, and we'll answer your questions after the PowerPoint presentation. I'll do the PowerPoint presentation. So getting a license, we're going to get you a road test. We're going to get you your learner's permit. You must, anywhere in the world, GLP programs, graduated licensing programs, you must have a learner's license. It's a written test that you go in, you answer questions. For new drivers, it's usually 50 questions. For CDL drivers, it's going to be 35 questions. You need to go in, answer those questions, get your learner's permit before you can actually go out and start driving in the vehicle with an experienced driver who's going to teach you and help you and mentor you along to get your license. So that's what you need to do first, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s. In 2002, I moved to Australia to pursue a graduate degree in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. And my expertise, oddly enough, is in policing as it relates to traffic. And while I was going to university, I drove buses rather for Greyhound, and along that path, I became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. I've also authored the book, Air Brakes Explained Simply. For those of you working towards a CDL license, head over to the Smart Drive Test website and have a look at that. And Corey will put the link up for you that as well. And if you pass the license in the last little while, click the link down below in the description there and head over for the Smart Drive Test 100K campaign. We're handing out prizes every month for a fuel card, and also we're trying to help 100,000 drivers earn their license this year. So, learner's license. For those new drivers, passenger vehicles, start the clock as soon as possible, because New Zealand implemented a GLP program in 1987, and most countries in the world followed suit with the GLP, Graduated Licensing Program, or GDL, Graduated Driver's License. You have to have your learners for a minimum of 1 calendar year. So get your learners the day that you turn 16, the day that you are eligible to get your learners. That way you'll get the clock ticking and be able to get on to the novice phase of your learner's license as soon as possible. This is the same for CDL drivers. Even before you go down to truck driving school and sign up for classes, go and get your learner's license. You have to have your learner's license. The knowledge test is going to be approximately 50 questions. They're multiple choice. There's 4 possible right answers. And again, the knowledge test is going to be a process of elimination. And this is where my tagline comes from. Pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So know your road signs along the routes, know basic right-of-way, attitude, driving task, the 6 factors of the driving task, light, weather, driver, vehicle, road, and traffic. And you also need to know the terminology of driving and road systems, infrastructure, painted islands, right-of-way, yield. Those kinds of terminology are all going to be part and parcel of the test. And for CDL drivers, you're also going to be given images, and you're going to have to determine who has the right of way or what your right course of action is going to be. So this is becoming more and more prevalent amongst computer tests. And know that for the purposes of a knowledge test, it's not going to be paper-based. In other words, they're not going to give you a test and sit you at a desk and you're going to sit down and do it. Most driving centers now are going to be computer-based tests. So you're going to sit there with computer-based tests. And I'll just go back up here for just 1 second. Here in the province of British Columbia, when you do a theory test, you can skip some of the test questions. So if you're not sure what the answer is right away, you can skip it, and the question will go to the bottom of the queue. So it's a randomized set of questions that they pull from a pool. If you skip the question, it'll go to the bottom of the queue. And if you don't answer 80% right, so 50 questions, you need to get 40 of the 50 correct. If you get 40 of the 50 correct, you won't see that question again. However, if you don't get 40 of the 50 questions correct, that question will come back up, and oftentimes you'll have enough time to sort of think about it, let it mull over in the back of your brain, and you'll get the question right. So most new drivers for passenger vehicles are going to enter into the GLP program, the GDL program. You're going to have a mentor. These are going to be the restrictions on your license. You're going to have a mentor in the vehicle. In the province of Ontario, that mentor has to have 4 years of experience, and you'll see that by the 4 dots underneath the picture on the license. That indicates that the driver has 4 years of experience. You are not allowed to have passengers in the vehicle unless they are direct relatives to your mom, dad, sibling, grandpa, grandma. Okay? 0 blood alcohol. No, you have cell phone restrictions. You're not supposed to be able to have any cell phones. Nighttime driving. You're not going to be able to drive between 1 and 5 in the morning, and there's no highway driving on 400 highways in the province of Ontario. So these are general restrictions that you're going to have on your license as a learner driver. Have a look at your jurisdiction in your driver's manual to understand your restrictions as well. Okay, mentors can be parents, families, friends, and pick a mentor who's going to spend some time with you and has time to drive with you. The other thing with your learner's license, and I suggest this, not in the weeks leading up to your road test, but in the months before you move to the novice phase and take your practical on-road test, drive as many different vehicles as you can, work with as many different people as mentors as you can. Because if you can do that, you're going to be much more prepared for your road test. Because if you got a lot of different people in the vehicle that you've worked with who are helping you to learn how to drive, it's not going to be as daunting when the stranger who's going to be the driving examiner gets in the vehicle and sits down beside you. So after you go through the learner phase, which is 1 year, you're going to enter into the novice phase. The novice phase is a minimum of 2 years in the GLP program or the GDL program. Your passenger restrictions, you can only have 1 passenger in the vehicle. I know somebody years ago who worked in traffic safety, and their son was in the novice phase of his license, and his dad went out and bought him a sports car that was a coupe and only had 2 seats in it. That way he knew that he was only going to have 1 passenger in the vehicle and not other ones, because it didn't have a trunk either. So, it's not unusual for drivers in the novice phase on their end to have passengers in the trunk and those types of things, because if they get pulled over by police, there are fines for that, and you can face being assigned demerits, and you'll lose your license. So no cell phone use, 0 blood alcohol. You can't drive between 1 and 5 in the morning, and there are harsher penalties for speeding tickets, failing to give the right of way, dangerous actions, and those types of things. So you can lose your license. Most veteran drivers are allowed 15 points on their license. Novice drivers are only allowed 9 points. At 6 points, they're called in for a review about why they should keep their license. All right, so we had a few people saying they're going for road tests this week. All road tests consist of 4 fundamental components. It doesn't matter if it's a passenger vehicle, it's a bus, or a truck. They are all the same regardless of where you are in the world, what class of license you're going for. Speed management, space management, observation, and communication. Speed management, posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. And for those driving bigger vehicles, the capability of the vehicle. If you're going up a hill, for example, and the speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour, the vehicle only does 60, well, then you can only do 60 kilometers an hour. Okay, space management. You have to manage space around your vehicle so you're not near other road users, you're not near fixed objects. You never want a driving examiner go because if you get a sharp intake of breath on the part of the examiner, you're never going to regain that trust. And unfortunately, at that point, if the examiner does that, it's pretty much all over. They're going to get you to drive back to the test center and you're not going to get another opportunity. So manage space well. Following distance, 2 to 3 seconds for passenger vehicles, up to 5 seconds for CDL vehicles. Stop in traffic so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. Stopping at all intersections, either behind the stop line, behind the crosswalk or sidewalk line, or at the edge where the 2 roads meet. And something else I was going to say about that. No, I think I got all that. Okay, observation. You need to observe correctly. You need to have a scanning pattern in place. Far down the road, in, check the center mirror. Far down the road, both shoulders, in, check your instrument panel. Down the road, in, check your wing mirrors. And then repeat that pattern every 8 to 12 seconds. And you need to shoulder check every time you move the vehicle sideways, you change lanes, or you make turns. Minimum 2 shoulder checks. When you're reversing, you have to look out the back window. And for every vehicle length that you back up, you need to stop the vehicle and do a 360-degree scan around your vehicle. So anytime that you're doing a parking maneuver, before you execute the maneuver or move the vehicle, you have to do a 360-degree scan. And then lastly, you have to communicate effectively with other traffic. And the ways we communicate in a vehicle: lights and signals, horn. We get eye contact. If we're not sure what a pedestrian or a cyclist is doing, we get eye contact with that pedestrian or other road user. Hand signals, hand gestures. Make sure you use all 5 fingers. Don't tell another road user they're number 1, especially on a road test. And then finally, the position of your vehicle on the roadway is going to communicate intent, okay? And then finally, you can be right or you can be dead right. So in other words, if another driver, even though you legally have the right of way and you can go, if you force the situation, you risk being involved in a crash. So don't do that. So sometimes you're going to have to give up the right of way, even though legally you have it, to avoid a crash, okay? So slow speed maneuvers, parallel parking, 3-point turn, 2-point reverse turn, stall parking, U-turn. So out of all of these slow speed maneuvers, the ones you can be guaranteed on just about any road test anywhere in the world: parallel parking, 3-point turn, and curb parking, and 2-point reverse stall parking. Those are almost guaranteed on any road test anywhere in the world, okay? As I said earlier, get as much practice as you can. Practice in different vehicles, practice in different environments, in different weather, different road conditions, different vehicles. As much practice as you can get. Not in the weeks leading up to your test, but in the months before while you're still in your learner's phase. Okay? Practice the road test. 3 weeks out, book a practice driving test with a local driving school, and book that ideally 7 to 10 days before your test. That way, the driving instructor can give you specific feedback about the skills that you need to improve for the purposes of passing your road test, and you've got time to do that. It's better to spend a little bit of money, take a driving practice test with a local driving instructor, than failing your road test and trying to rebuild your confidence, because it can take a couple of weeks to rebuild your confidence if you're unsuccessful on your road test. So book a practice driving test with a local driving school. Remember, driving instructors teach students how to pass a road test every day, okay? So good luck in your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. We'll flip back over here and get on to answering questions that anybody has about passing a road test. So there we go. Corey put up the link for the 100K campaign. Epic is here. Volcanic, can you answer one of my questions? Okay, Volcanic. Yes, I can. Drop that in there, Volcanic, and we'll do what we can to answer that for you. And as well, for those of you watching on the replay, for those of you here now, if you have a specific question, there's always Super Chat available. If you Super Chat, I definitely will answer your question for you, do the best I can. Okay, there you go. Thanks, Corey, for that. Jonathan, school zones have posted speed limits and other warning signs like a crosswalk. Make sure you abide by them. Yes, that is an excellent point that Jonathan made. If you speed in a school zone, know that that is an automatic fail on a road test, okay? So, school is back in session. We talked about that last week. I've got a couple of videos that I need to crunch to put up on stories here. I'll get those up for you, but know that there are several different kinds of signs. And of the traffic signs that are available, school signs tend to be the ones that are not consistent around the world. Most school signs are. For example, here in Canada and the United States, it's a pentagon, so it's shaped like a house with two people on it, and they can be different colors. It can be black on white, it can be white on blue, it can be black on neon. So it's different. Different colors are not consistent. In Europe and in the UK, the school signs are inverted triangles, red border with two people on them. So it's the only consistent part is the symbolism on the sign. So that's what you need to do. Okay, Yemi, how can I control my nerves? Okay, Yemi, you're having your road test this week, right? Can you just let me know that you're having your road test, and then I'll talk a little bit about how to control your nerves. But for the most part, we all have nerves when we get tested. I mean, even if I went out for a road test right now and I was being tested in a vehicle, I would still have nerves. But know that you have nerves. Breathe all the way into your navel. Know that, because that will force your body to relax, okay? But know that you got nerves and just do it anyway and focus in, just get rid of all the distractions. Try not to talk to the person in the car and focus on what you need to do, okay? Rizal, what's the school playground zone does not have the 30-kilometer zone? The ICC book only says to slow down if children are present. What do I do? Slow down to. All right. So, Razel, I think what you're talking about is that the school signs that have a regulatory underneath that says a particular speed limit, and it says if children are present along the roadway. So you only slow down if that condition is present. If children are not present along the roadway, you do not need to slow down, okay? So if that regulatory sign, that little rectangular black lettering on white background is not present, you don't have to slow down, okay? So know that. William, I'm 31, Kingsport, Tennessee. How long do I have to have a Class D permit? Okay, Class D. They're in Tennessee. So, William, Class D, just remind me what Class D is in Tennessee, because you're going for a CDL license, I believe, and if you're going for a CDL license, there isn't a time limit. There isn't a graduated licensing program as of yet for the CDL. We'll see what happens here in the province of British Columbia here with them revamping the CDL program, but there isn't a time period that you have to have your learner's permit. It's just whenever you're ready for your training. Usually it's kind of 3 to 4 weeks before you actually go and actually take your road test with them, okay? Epic, thanks Jonathan. It's a small 14-seater bus. If you look at from a bus dealership website, it's a non-CDL required bus. Is a card license sufficient for one? Do watch the slow speed videos. Okay. Old man, should I go 40 kilometers an hour in residential areas? No. Old man, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing 50 kilometers an hour in a residential area unless there's a speed limit that tells you otherwise. Now, sometimes there are conditions that mandate that you go slower. So, for example, if you're on a small residential street and there's cars parked on both sides of the roadway, yes, potentially you could go slower, down to 40 kilometers an hour. But unless those conditions exist, then you do not want to be slowing down. You want to try and do 50 kilometers an hour as much as possible. Now, the other thing that I'll say about this is that the practice road test video that I have put up here on the channel, which I'm also going to say congratulations to us, the Smart Drive Test channel, because it's the third video to pass 1 million views. you'll see in that video that I rarely get up to 50 kilometers an hour just because I'm turning, I'm going through school zones, I'm watching for children, I'm going past parks, those types of things. So even if you're driving in a residential area, it's very unlikely that you're going to get the vehicle up to the posted speed limit anyway. Okay, so know that. All right. Presto, will you fail a road test if you go 1 mile an hour over just for a second? No, Presto, you will not fail a road test for going 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. You will, however, fail on speed management if you go 5 miles an hour over the speed limit for 20 or 30 seconds. Because what happens is if you are over the speed limit for an extended period of time, what that means is that you are not observing properly, because part of the observation that I was talking about previously was you look far down the road, you come in, you check the mirror, down the road again, and check your instrument panel. So you're checking your instrument panel every 10 to 12 seconds as part of that scanning pattern. If you're checking your instrument panel, you're going to see that you are going too fast and you're going to adjust your speed. So part of what you're going to be doing in your driving test is adjusting your speed all the time. And Corey will put the video up for you as well on speed control so that you're not doing that. Now, one of the things that you got to be careful, Presto, and this is one of the things you need to practice in the days leading up to your road test, is you need to practice not following the other traffic, because you can be guaranteed that other traffic on the road is going higher than the speed limit. So don't follow the other traffic. If you're on a multi-lane road, stay on the right side and go the posted speed limit, because unfortunately that's one of the challenges of a road test, is that you got to do the posted speed limit where no other bloody fool on the roadway is doing the posted speed limit. Everybody else is going 5 to 8 miles an hour over the speed limit. Okay, so know that. All right, and even in the mock road test video that I put up, I had to go back and reshoot that portion of the video because I was going downhill, I was talking, narrating the video, and all of a sudden I look down and I'm just following along with the traffic and I'm going too fast. So know that it happens even to those of us who are veteran drivers. Okay, so old man. So my area rarely has posted speed limits in residential areas, and that is going to be true for most places. They're not going to have speed limits, and that's an excellent point. Know that in urban areas, so in cities and in villages and places like that, unless otherwise posted, the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour or 30 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. And outside of urban areas, in rural areas, on highways and those types of things, the posted speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. And that is consistent in North America, Australia, other places in the world. Okay? 50 kilometers an hour, 30 miles an hour in the city, 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour outside of the city. Okay? Swag, I failed the test because of poor steering. All right, Swag. What I'm going to suggest to you is Corey will put the video up for you on how to learn how to drive. Go back to the parking lot, revisit the fundamentals, do the figure 8 exercises, drive up to the pylons, hit the pylons, have fun in the parking lot working with the pylons. All of that will help you to control your steering and give you better awareness of the primary controls of the vehicle, which is the steering wheel, and as well will give you a better sense of where your vehicle is in space and place. Okay? Carry a certain distance out of an intersection. If the light turns yellow, can either come to a hard stop or go through. Hope to enter on a yellow. Slippery conditions, decisions harder, which is better. Okay, so Carrie, unfortunately this is one of those situational questions that, you know, if you're in the intersection and you're coming up and all of a sudden the light goes yellow and catches you out, what do I do? Do I come to a screeching stop? And yes, as a novice driver, as a learner driver taking a road test and preparing for a road test, yes, sometimes you're going to have to do a hard brake. And I have had students do that in a tractor trailer where they come up and the light turns yellow and boom, they got to lay on the brakes and they leave some black marks on the roadway. So that's what happens. Unfortunately, you have to do that for the purposes of a road test. After you get your license, no, you don't need to come to a screeching stop. Scan the intersection. If it's safe to go through. Because I'll tell you, if I have a loaded tractor trailer and I'm doing a fairly decent clip, I'm doing the posted speed limit, and I come up and all of a sudden the lane, boom, goes yellow, it's unlikely I'm going to come to a stop because I just can't get that unit stopped. It's without, you know, squealing tires and those types of things. Okay? Yes, as Jonathan said, keep practicing. You'll get it. Okay, in Tennessee, the Class D is a passenger vehicle. Okay, thanks for clarifying that, William. So Class D So I'm almost sure that Tennessee has a GLP program. I'm almost certain that all states in the U.S. have a GLP program. So if you have a GLP program, just look up in your manual, or William, send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and I'll have a look at the manual for you there in Tennessee, and I'll tell you whether you're in a GLP program. I'm almost certain that you're going to be in a GLP program, and if you are, you're going to have to wait a year, okay? So there we go. Okay, Hall Phase, how are you, my friend? Introvert, you can drive RV in Florida with your regular license without special training. Introvert, you can drive an RV, excellent point, unless it has air brakes. If you have a vehicle, an RV vehicle that has air brakes, you do have to get an air brake ticket for the purposes of driving an RV. Okay, Hall Phase, Instagram is coming along. It's a little bit slower than what I would hoped, but I'm doing some work on that, and I'm working on getting that going. It's just, I don't know why I find Instagram a little bit, it's supposed to be so easy, just click and do stuff on your phone. But any advice that people can give me about things they want to see on Instagram and those types of things is gonna help me out and move it forward. But I'll tell you a bit of a story. Last week I worked all week on a video, and I don't know, it was just one of those videos that was just like the Sisyphean task. Everybody, I don't know whether everybody knows who Sisyphus was. Sisyphus was the guy that was sentenced by the gods to roll the rock up the hill, and then it would roll down at the end of the day, and he had to push it up again the next day. Well, some of the tasks on YouTube feel like that. And so I made this video last week. I was remaking the Learn to Drive video, trying to make it shorter and those types of things. And, it didn't go well. I had to shoot the introduction like 4 or 5 times, and, I bought a new dash cam. That didn't work out. Blah, blah, blah. Just one thing after another. And anyway, I got to yesterday, and I got it all finished, and a friend of mine said, you really need to change these up. And, I came to the realization that I kind of want to be, I kind of want to be the Patch Adams of teaching driving, getting a license. I want this to be fun. And I look at some of my videos and I think, this is not fun. This is not fun. This is about as interesting as watching paint dry. And so this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make all of this more interesting, more fun, right? And I got, I went up and talked to my friend, a good friend of mine, him and I are both building businesses, and we're trying to figure out how to scale up our businesses, right? And, at the end of the video, I just kind of let it sit on the shelf, and I'm going to shelve it, because I'm going to go back and shoot it again, because I think that learning how to drive a car, getting in for your first lesson, I think it's your responsibility as new drivers to kind of drive, to have your parents going, what the heck are you doing? Because it is important for you to figure out, in a controlled environment, in a parking lot, to figure out what the car won't do, right? That if you back up and you start wiggling the steering wheel back and forth, that thing is going to go out of control, and you're going to have a really hard time trying to steer that thing backwards. Because I want you to know, as smart drivers, I want you to know what your vehicle will and won't do, so that when you get on the roadway and something happens, you're going to go, okay, I'm just going to let the other person go. I'm just going to take some space. I'm going to give them some space. I'm going to hang back, and I'm going to let that person go off and have their crash somewhere else. Not going, oh, I got the right of way because that person's at fault. Not saying that, because I'll tell you right now, one of my beefs about people saying to me, oh, it was their fault, or it was his fault, her fault, their fault, grandpa and grandma's fault. We don't want to be saying that. Because if you get in a crash, you got a wrecked car, they got a wrecked car, maybe you're injured, maybe you got soft tissue damage that you're going to be dealing with for the rest of your life. Nobody wins. So in the end, because you got a wrecked car, who cares whose fault it is? Now you got to spend months of your time and energy dealing with insurance companies, dealing with driving a rental car if you're lucky enough to get a rental car. And, whereas 5 seconds of, oh, hey, wait a minute, I just need to back off and give this person a little bit of space here. A few seconds out of your day could have saved you months and months and months of grief. So this is what I want to do. This is what I need you to understand. I need you to understand what the vehicle will and won't do, and I need you to have a really good attitude about saying, hey, that guy's being a moron. Let that person go and have their crash somewhere else, and I'll just move on with my happy day. So that's my goal with teaching, and also I want it to be fun. Okay, so that's what I'm working on in the back of my head. All right, Katie, is it normal to be nervous backing up for new driver who are learning to drive? Yes, it is, Katie. And I'll tell you a funny story about that, Katie. I had my wife at the time, her sister had a learning disability. She had dyslexia, and she had difficulty learning how to back up. Out behind their house where we lived in Australia, there was this long alleyway, and there were fences on both sides. And there was probably, I don't know, maybe 18 inches on each side of the car. And it was an automatic car, so it wasn't that hard because she didn't have to manipulate the clutch and whatnot. But I would make her back all the way down that alley. And literally, I'm not kidding you, Katie, she would get out of the car and she would be pouring sweat. Like literally dripping in sweat because she was so nervous backing that car up. But you want to know something? Even though she had a learning disability, because I did those exercises with her, because I took her down to the parking lot and I got her to do reverse figure eights and forward figure eights and the pylons and screeching forward and nailing on the brakes and doing hard acceleration and those types of things, she was an excellent driver once she passed her road test. And she passed her road test first time, and she learned to become a better driver. So Katie, it's totally normal to be nervous when you're backing up and to be uncomfortable with that. But if you can spend some time on that and get really comfortable with backing up, you are going to be a better driver overall, and the chances of you passing your road test first time are going to increase exponentially. So that's what we're going to do. All right. Athena, I really enjoy your time you put into your videos and live show. Thank you so much, Athena. That is really awesome. And hopefully, because this is the thing I've been struggling with, Athena, and this is what I just talked about a little bit, is I want all of this to be more fun. And that's what I'm struggling with right now. I am struggling. I will be quite honest with you right now. And this is probably the reason that I haven't put up videos for a little while. I haven't made any new videos for a couple of months. The reason is because I look at the videos and I go, okay, I'm doing the same thing that I was doing before. And I can make these way more fun. I just got to figure out how to make them more fun. And I think I just got to let myself off the chain a little bit and, go for it. So that's what I need to do. All right. But thank you so much for your compliment. It really keeps me going here. All right. Presto, I have been driving for about a month and my parents say I can't drive their Suburban. Is this a good idea? What's different about driving a truck and SUV versus a car that makes it so much harder? Okay. Presto, it's not that it's harder. It's just bigger. Okay. So and because the vehicle is bigger, there's bigger blind spots around the vehicle. As well, trucks and SUVs don't have the same turning radius. They have a higher center of gravity. That's kind of a technical term, which means trucks and SUVs are more prone to tipping over in corners. So you got to slow down more when you go around corners and those types of things. So you got to slow down before you start turning, and then not accelerate, but have a little bit of power as you're going through. You got to be pushing the vehicle through the corner as you're going around. And Corey put up the video here I see on SUVs. How to drive an SUV, techniques and strategies. So if you do want to drive the other vehicles, and I don't know how far you out, Presto, from your road test, but I would suggest that you maybe try and convince your parents that you can drive the truck and drive the SUV, and have a look at the video and the exercises that you can do in the parking lot. Maybe go down and do those first, and that'll give your parents a bit more comfort in letting you drive the SUV and drive the truck. But know that if you can do that, it's going to make you a better driver overall when you're actually going for your road test to drive the car, because you're going to find driving the car a lot easier. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. I have an old Honda CR-V. CR-V stands for comfortable runaround vehicle. For bombing around town, it's a great thing. You can get into parking lots really easily and those types of things. This is a little SUV, right? My mate has a 2500 Dodge Ram pickup. It's huge. It has the turning radius of, the Queen Mary, and, getting into a parking lot. I mean, there's one parking lot. We go to the pub downtown here. He can't even get in the parking lot, let alone park the vehicle we got to park on the road. Whereas the SUV, you just go into the parking lot, bomb into the space, stop, carry on with your life, right? So know that there's size differences. Also, the blind areas, the areas that you can't see around your vehicle, are much more substantial as well. All right. You passed your road test. Awesome. Which state in the United States did you pass your road test? Okay, Presto, I'm about 7 months out before I'm eligible for my road test. So that's awesome, Presto. If you can drive the truck and the SUV, you can get used to that. You can drive with your mom and drive with your dad. your uncle, you know, the abominable snowman, all those types of things. When you get to your road test and that stranger gets in the vehicle with their little clipboard, you're going to be just like, yeah, hey, chill, whatever. You're going to be, hey, dude, how's it going, right? You know, and you're going to nail it. So the more experience you can get driving other vehicles, the better prepared you're going to be for your road test in 7 months. All right, Jonathan. Oof. I became nervous about backing up because a friend of mine lost their life because my friend was the driver blind spot. Didn't really make sense, Katie. Can you just? I'm sorry to hear about your loss too as well. That's awful. Okay, Razel, when you're going down a hill, should you brake long enough to go slightly below the speed limit, then release the brakes as you drive down? Should you be repeating this when you are about to go over the speed limit? Okay, Razel, what are you driving? It depends on what vehicle you're driving. Are you talking about a CDL vehicle or are you talking about a passenger vehicle? If you're talking about a passenger vehicle, yes, just you're going downhill and it's gaining speed and you're trying to maintain the posted speed limit for the purposes of your road test, yes, just ride the brakes a little bit, bring it down a little bit, 2 or 3 miles an hour under the speed limit or 4 or 5 kilometers an hour, and then let it run back up again and then brake again to do that for the purposes of your road test and maintaining proper speed control for the purposes of your road test. Katie, when merging onto the highway, are we supposed to continue accelerating when getting on the shoulder, getting on while shoulder checking? Okay, Katie, this is another one of the videos that I need to remake, and I need to make this better for students because I've had the same question over and over again with students, and it's a valid question. And I'm going to try and answer that question in a new and improved and more in the bottle merging onto the highway video. And one of the things that you need to do, Katie, when you're merging onto the freeway is as you come around, oftentimes you come around on a loop, and then you get onto the on-ramp portion before you get onto the acceleration ramp. And the acceleration ramp, you know, it's the acceleration ramp portion of the getting onto the freeway because it has continuity lines on the left, and continuity lines are twice as wide and half as long as regular dividing lines. And those continuity lines tell you that the lane that you're in is either going to end or it's going to exit. Okay, so that's what continuity lines mean. When you get onto that, when you come around on the on-ramp, on the loop there, and you're still on the on-ramp, you're looking out on the freeway, measuring the traffic, if you can, for the most part, and you're picking the spot that you're going to merge into, and you're going to aim for that spot. So as you're coming on the on-ramp, you're already checking the traffic over here and picking your spot. So once you get out into the acceleration lane, on most places, I know there are some places in the United States and other freeways and interstates and those types of things that you have a very short acceleration lane, but hammer down, pedal to the metal, gas on that puppy, get that thing going. Okay, get up to speed. I mean, unless it's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the freeway, but for the most part, know that the faster you go, and one of the smart drivers pointed this out a little while ago in a comment, the faster the traffic is going, the spaces between the vehicles is bigger. If the traffic is going slow, the spaces are going to be smaller. So if it's going fast and you're gassing on it to get your vehicle up to speed, aim for that spot. If you're about halfway down the acceleration lane and they're not moving over, they're not creating a space for you, then what you do is you move to the left side of the acceleration lane. You use the position of your vehicle to communicate to other drivers on the roadway your intent. So in conjunction with the flashing signal that you're going to merge out onto the freeway, moving to the left side of your lane also indicates to the people, hey, I'm coming over. I am coming over. So you move to the left side of the lane, and that tells other people, hey, you're not listening to my signal. So now I'm bringing my whole vehicle over, and that will indicate to other traffic that you are in fact going to go over. But pick your space, aim for your space, and that way you'll automatically, without even really thinking about it, once you know you're aiming for that space on the freeway between the two vehicles, that the speed will automatically adjust itself because you're looking at that space and that's what you're aiming for. Remember, the vehicle will go where you're looking. All right? Okay, my friend was in his driveway. Well, his neighbor was backing out of the driveway without knowing he was in the blind spots. Oh, that's terrible. I know those accidents, Katie. They're just awful crashes. My condolences about that. And this is an excellent point that Katie raises about her friend's crash. if you're in a driveway and there's kids around or other people, just walk around your vehicle real quick before you get in and start backing out the driveway. Presto, any special things I should be doing while practicing over the next 7 months? Yes, in the next 5 months, Presto, what I want you to do is I want you to drive as many different vehicles as you can with as many different people as you can. Funny people, sad people, miserable people, happy people. I want you to drive with as many different people as you can who obviously have a driver's license and meet the mentoring criteria of being able to be with you in the vehicle. But the more people that you drive with, the more vehicles that you drive in the next 5 months, you are going to be so prepared for your license. It's just going to be it's going to be a cakewalk. And then in the 6 to 8 weeks leading up to your road test, practice specifically in one vehicle for your road test with one mentor. Don't go with all those other people that I told you to go with, okay? And sort of 7 to 10 days out before your road test, book a practice driving test with a local driving school, and a driving examiner will be able to give you feedback on the skills and abilities that you have to have in place for the purposes of passing your road test. And I will tell you that on road test day, it's going to be a cakewalk. If you do all that, it'll be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay? There you go. Katie, thanks for explaining about merging. You're most welcome. Justin is stopping multiple times at a hard-to-see stop sign and error. It's not an error, Justin. It just kind of indicates to the examiner that maybe you're not really confident about what you're doing. So essentially what you need to do, Justin, you need to come up to the intersection. You need to stop at the correct position. So the 3 stopping positions: before the stop line, before the sidewalk or crosswalk line, and then at the edge where the 2 roads meet. And then if you can't see after stopping at the correct stopping position, then creep forward until you can see and treat it as a yield. Okay, don't stop several times. Just keep sort of inching forward until you can clearly see the intersection. And once you can clearly see the intersection, then proceed. Okay? Jonathan, everyone at all times when you back up, please look before you go into reverse. This applies to driving and your road test. And that is an excellent point that Jonathan made. The number one reason why people have backing crashes. They move the vehicle before they look. And if you want to do a little social experiment, the next time you come out of the grocery store or you come out of the shop into a big parking lot, just walk through the parking lot and watch the drivers backing up in the parking lot. I guarantee you that you will see these people to put the thing into reverse, they'll move it back a couple of feet, and then they look. Number one reason why we have backing crashes. And if you're driving a CDL vehicle, please do a walk around. If you've been away from your vehicle for any period of time, if you've been away for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, and you come back, walk around your vehicle. Because I can guarantee you that there are people in passenger vehicles who know nothing about CDL vehicles, and they will park in the weirdest places right around your vehicle, and you run into them and those types of things. Some years ago, parked down in Chicago on the side of a road. Somebody pulled right up behind me, and I was tucked right up tight against the vehicle in front of me, which I shouldn't have been, but I was, and backed up a little bit and backed into the car behind me. So know that it happens, okay? And it was my fault because I didn't get out and look, and I should have. So excellent point that Jonathan made there. Always, always, always look. And if you're unsure about the environment where you're at, or you didn't come from a distance and couldn't see behind your vehicle when you got in, get out and do a walk around. Okay? All right. Anybody else have questions? We'll answer any more questions that people have about this. One of the other things, Presto, can you make a video on perpendicular parking for beginners? I am currently struggling with traditional parking with getting into the middle of the spot. Yes, Presto, we do have a video on that. Corey will get that up for you on how to reverse stall park. Just watch through the middle of the video. There's also getting in forward as well into the parking space. But Presto, if you're going to drive your mom and dad's truck and the SUV as well, go down to the parking lot, do those learn to drive exercises with the cones where you're doing forward figure eights and reverse figure eights, driving up, touching the cone with the front of the vehicle, touching the cone with the back of the vehicle. All of that will improve your overall driving and help you with your parking as well. So know that for the purposes of learning how to drive and whatnot. Okay. Katie, you're in Arkansas. They still have the charge of manslaughter while driving a vehicle. That's interesting because in most other places in the world they've done away with the manslaughter charge, and it's driving dangerous driving causing bodily harm, because they have found, the legal profession has found that juries particularly, but other people, other people involved in the legal system are unwilling to prosecute for the charge of manslaughter. They find that conviction rates are higher for this dangerous driving causing bodily harm. So that's interesting that the state of Arkansas still has that charge. Okay, Christine, could you explain how to use the side mirrors when parallel parking? Christine, most of the time you're not going to be using the mirrors when you're parallel parking. You're going to be, I know that some driving examiners tell you to take the passenger mirror and face it down to the roadway. I, myself and other driving instructors discourage you doing that because it takes 30-40 seconds and driving examiners get a little bit annoyed when you do that. For the most part, you're not going to be using your mirrors when you're parallel parking, and do have a look at the parallel park video here as well. If you want to learn how to use your mirrors, and Corey will put this video up for you as well on the Ohio maneuverability test. The Ohio maneuverability test will teach you how to use the mirrors. And when you're backing up, and I would suggest that you go and get some pylons, go down to the parking lot, and just practice using mirrors to reverse your vehicle as well. Because yes, you can use them, but for the most part for a road test, you're not expected to use them. It's going to be easier for you to change lanes. It's going to be easier to do the Ohio maneuverability test if you're in that state and required to do that maneuver for the purposes of a road test. But for the most part, it's not required that you use the wing mirrors, but you can learn how to do that with those exercises. So know that for the purposes of a road test as well. Okay, Justin, when activating the parking brake, should I leave the car and drive and apply the brake, or place it into park, then apply the parking brake? All right, Justin, so the correct procedure for putting the parking brake on is that when you're parking the vehicle, parking brake first. So hold the foot brake, parking brake on, put the transmission into park. When you're leaving, put the transmission into drive, hold your foot on the foot brake, release the parking brake, and drive off. Okay, so that's how you do that. You want to apply the parking brake first because you want the brakes on the vehicle holding it in place, not the transmission. The transmission is a backup. Okay, it's your backup. Remember the Serenity. Where's the backup? Where's the backup? That's your backup. And for people driving manual transmissions, you definitely want to put the vehicle in gear, apply the parking brake before you leave the vehicle unattended. Because again, if you just leave it in gear, you don't have any backup. And I've had friends who've been driving manual transmissions and parked it in the driveway and came out and they're like, where's my car? Dude, where's my car? And they look out in the middle of the road, and then the car is rolled down the hill and it's out in the middle of the road. So, into gear, parking brake on. And it's just a good habit to get into. And for those of you driving CDL vehicles, apply the parking brake every time you leave the vehicle, because if you don't, you will not be successful on your road test. That is one of the differences between passenger vehicles and CDL vehicles. You must apply the parking brake every time you leave the vehicle in a CDL vehicle. Apply the parking brake. So if you don't have that habit already in place, I would encourage you to begin to develop that habit for driving. XG is in the highway, for example, the road speed limit is 55. I drive 60, but always some people behind me follow my car so close and want to pass, which they do in this case. Okay, first of all, do not get pressured by other people who are driving and want to drive faster than 60 miles an hour. If they want to drive faster than 60 miles an hour, it's their responsibility to pass you. Just focus on what you're doing and try not to get annoyed by them. I know that that's challenging for certain, but let them go and have their crash somewhere else, okay? If you're driving 60 on a 55, that's plenty fast. I mean, 65 is probably too fast, but 60's enough, okay? Introvert, use your key fob alarm to find your car. There you go. Yes, that will work too, but you might have rolled down the hill there into a telephone and exploded in a fiery crash. Then your key fob thing won't work. Okay, Hall face, what happens if I get a ticket or tickets while in a CDL truck? Okay, so Hall face, if you're driving a CDL vehicle, you have what's called a driver's abstract. And to get a job as a CDL driver, you have to present your driver's abstract to the company. If you have too many speeding tickets, or you have overweight fines and those types of things. Now, overweight fines are not going to affect your general driving record, but it is going to go on there because every driver has a CVR number, commercial vehicle operator, CVO, commercial vehicle operator's number. So you as a truck driver have a CVO, or a bus driver. You as a company have a CVO as well, because if the company is getting a lot of infractions, the DOT, the CVSE, the MTO, they're going to come in and shut that company down. You as a driver, your insurance rates are going to go up, and your chances of getting a job are going to go down, because people don't want to hire a truck driver who's got 3 or 4 speeding tickets. Okay, one maybe in a 4 or 5 year period, but know that it's going to affect your chances of getting hired as a job, and it goes on your driver's abstract. So know that for the purposes of going on and becoming a driver. Okay, so as Jonathan said, that goes on your driver record. Not to mention, driving companies won't touch you for a good while when you get a citation, which is why I prefer to keep my driving record clean. Yes, and this comes back to what I was talking to about with my friend yesterday about sports players and being a commercial truck driver and driving your passenger vehicle. You can't go to work, drive your commercial vehicle, and be all professional, and then come home and drive your personal vehicle and be a moron and eat cheeseburgers and get fat and then go back to playing baseball and expect to be good at playing baseball. It's the same thing with truck driving and driving your personal vehicle. You need to be a professional in both. You can't be a professional in one, leave that, and go and not be a professional in your personal vehicle. So this is exactly what Jonathan is saying about keeping your personal record clean, keeping your CDL record clean, so that way you can get a job, you can look good on the roadway and do what you need to do in order of getting a license and looking after your family, those types of things. Focus on what you're doing for now and listen to your parents. Driving on the highway isn't as hard as a lot to pay attention. And yes, and this is another one of the questions that comes up for new drivers about driving on highways. They're intimidated by increased speeds and those types of things. Keep in mind that when drivers are driving on highways, the faster you go, the spaces between the vehicles are bigger, so it's easier for you to manage space well around your vehicles. And keep in mind that if you're not near anything, you're not going to hit anything. Okay, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. So maintain speed well. On the highway, if you're not comfortable with it, maintain a 4 to 5 second following distance from you and other vehicles. That's going to keep you safe. Lots of warning if you're going to change lanes and pass other vehicles and those types of things. And as well, if you're on a multi-lane highway, stay to the right. Okay? That way other vehicles can get around you, they can pass, and those types of things. And if you're really uncomfortable and nervous and it's your first time driving on the highway, go out and drive in the evening or drive early in the morning when there's very little traffic out there and get accustomed to it. That way you're going to ease yourself into it and you're going to do what you need to do to be able to get more comfortable, because we're all anxious, we're all nervous when we're driving. It's just a matter of exposure. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get. Your skills are going to grow. Your ability to be able to do the task at hand is going to increase. And the more that all of that increases, the better driver you're going to become. And it's going to become second nature after a while. Okay? So do all of that. Hall phase, you're most welcome. Justin, is this the correct order for parallel parking? Apply the brake, apply parking brake, place car in park. Yes. Yes. And then once you do that and the car's in park, you're in the space, you can say to the examiner, I'm finished. The vehicle is secure. Now I would leave the vehicle, and the examiner will probably open the door, see how far you are from the curb. They'll go, okay, fine, carry on. And then you do your thing where you're going to look out the back window. You're going to back up a little bit because you're going to be too close to the vehicle in front to pull out. You're going to back up a little bit. You're going to signal left, mirror signal, shoulder check. Make sure there's no vehicles coming. And then you're going to proceed by moving out of the spot and going back onto the roadway and accelerating up to speed. All right. Presto, one reason my parents say I can't do it is because merging is too hard. No, it's not too hard. It's just something you have to learn. And there's a difference between it being too hard and something you have to learn. It's just something you have to learn. And if you practice doing the slow speed maneuvers in the parking lot, all of this is going to be easier. And again, my other counsel to you, Presto, is that go out and drive around on the roadways early in the morning or in the evening when there isn't as much traffic. That way you're going to be able to focus just on driving the vehicle. And if you're with your parents, they're going to be able to give you counsel. Okay, start slowing down, start to slow down now, start to turn earlier, and those types of things. Because the thing with the truck and the SUV is that you're going to have to do things a little bit sooner. Because this is the problem with CDL drivers that are making the transition from their passenger vehicle to a big truck. And they have to start gearing down, right? And they're gearing down, and they're like, oh my God, I don't have enough time. They need to start doing it sooner. It's the same thing with driving an SUV or driving a truck. You just need to start braking a little bit earlier. You need to start turning a little bit earlier in the intersection to get around the corner and those types of things. And you need to allow more space when you're accelerating, for example, making left-hand turns or whatnot, because all of the responses of a bigger vehicle are going to be slower. It's not going to accelerate as fast. It's not going to brake as fast. And the turning radius is a lot bigger. So you just need to allow more time. And it's just a matter of you being able to make those allowances for the purposes of driving a bigger vehicle. All right. John, New Jersey has road tests in real traffic, but parallel park test with cones. And yes, that's not just New Jersey that does that, John. Lots of states do that as well. For example, Ohio has the Ohio maneuverability test. The Ohio maneuverability test is with cones, but the rest of the road test is out in traffic. Okay? John, make sure the car that you bring to a road test in New Jersey has a middle handbrake or unobstructed foot access to the normal foot brake. Yes, because and that's not just for New Jersey, John. That's for any state, any place in North America. The parking brake on your vehicle has to work. If the parking brake doesn't work, you're not going to pass your road test. You may not even be able to go out because your vehicle is considered unsafe. So, Corey will put the video up for you on doing a pre-trip inspection. So if you're taking your vehicle or you're taking a driving school vehicle, make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection before you show up for your road test. You don't want to be denied your road test because something simple isn't working, like a brake light, for example. Something that can be changed out in 10 minutes. So make sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you head down to show up for your road test, okay? Here we go. There we go. All right, so head over to the Smart Drive Test website and pick up Pass Your Road Test First Time. You can find the link for that down in the description there. Rezel, what are your thoughts on vehicles like Tesla that have autopilot? Is there ever a situation where a driver, even experienced one, should be using it? Yeah, Rezel, I think that these are fairly safe on the highways. I think they've got that more or less figured out. Not so much in town, but on the highways, I think it's more or less. But I wouldn't fall asleep or be texting on my phone or those types of things. I'd be very much paying attention to what the vehicle was doing, because it's about 97% safe. It's that 3% that I don't think I would. It's not worth chancing. Courtney, I need to know how to pass the driving test when I go and take my driving license. Courtney talked about that in the presentation. So just go back in the video to the presentation and go to the part with speed management, space management, observation, communication, and that will help you out. Surrender, where is U-turn allowed in BC? Look that up in the index in the driver's manual to tell you all the places as well. Look at the U-turn video here on the channel, and that'll give you information about places where you can do U-turns. Jonathan, I would not recommend autopilot. If it's another means of cruise control, then it's different. Yes, it is it's very much an autopilot, Jonathan, and I'm sort of on board with you. I still don't quite trust it. Presto, my dad's Genesis has an electronic parking brake. Should I use it differently or use it the same as a traditional parking brake? No, use it the same as a traditional parking brake. Apply it first, put the transmission into park, and then release the foot brake. Exactly the same way. XG, in Illinois State, trust me, merging is very dangerous in freeways because the gap is so small. Yeah, but XG, as I said, in Illinois and everywhere else, I've driven all through the United States of America. Find your spot, aim for that spot, and if you're about halfway down the acceleration lane and they're not making a space for you, move over to the left side of that acceleration lane. You move over, you start crowding that left side, and I'll tell you, they'll start creating a gap for you because they're not going to trust you at that point about whether you are or are not coming out. Okay, practice, practice, practice. Absolutely. Justin, can I parallel park with one hand while looking back, or is that an error? No. Justin, you can reverse with one hand on the steering wheel. the other hand behind the passenger seat looking out the rear window, and have a look at the video on reversing. Corey will put that up for you as well. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. Congratulations to all of the smart drivers who've passed their road test in the last couple of weeks. I've put a poll up on the community tab about British Columbia holding forums about improving Class 1 tractor-trailer driver training. Go over and voice your opinion on that. Leave a comment and whatnot, and we'll help you out with that as well. And what else did I need to say? So there's that. And if you got any comments about improving the quality of the videos, improving content, making them more enjoyable, more fun, how we can do that, leave us a comment as well. All of that is very helpful. And lastly, remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.